Hello, everyone. We are starting the webinar, so welcome in. We are very happy to welcome Andrea Hunt, President and CEO of the Association of Canadian Advertisers.
Thank you, Maurice. Hello, everyone. On behalf of Leger and the Association of Canadian Advertisers, thanks for joining us and welcome to the launch of the Digital Study 2026. Today's presentation has one simple goal, and that's to provide meaningful insights that can help you advance your business. As key industry stakeholders, understanding the behavior and interests of our consumers is critical. This year's digital study takes a close look at online and social media behaviors of both Canadian and American consumers, how they connect, who they follow, and what is driving their decisions in the digital space. Over the next 50 minutes, the Leger team will share insights organized into 5 key areas. The goal is to enlighten, spark ideas, challenge assumptions, and provide practical guidance to help you navigate the ever-shifting landscape. So to help ground ourselves, findings have been centered around the 5 W's of the digital landscape. Who is using the platforms and who are Canadians listening to? What content matters most and which formats resonate? Where are Canadians going for information and which platforms are dominating? Why do Canadians trust certain creators over others, and why are they turning to AI? When? Now, comes with a little bit of a caveat. There's no when in the data, of course, because the when is always now. And that's why we repeat the study annually to ensure it reflects today's reality. Finally, a little more good news. This year, the study has been augmented with a new complementary service, specifically an AI tool that gives you direct access to the data from the study, letting you explore on your own in a way that best services your individual business need. So that's it, just a few housekeeping items before I hand things over to Leger and the research team. 1, don't worry, we're going to finish within the hour. 2, we've held time for the Q&A, about 10 or 15 minutes on the back end, but feel free to submit questions anytime in the Q&A tab. And yes, to get ahead of it, you will receive the full study by email just a few hours after the webinar. With that, let's dive in.
Thank you, Andrea. So before diving in, let's start by introducing ourselves. I am Maryse Dupuis, Senior Director of Client Services at Leger Digital. I will have the pleasure and honor of presenting the results of our study once again this year. And I'm joined by Boris Ong, Vice President of Strategy and Business Development at Leger Digital, who will brilliantly, as always, share our insights about brands more specifically this year. And with us as well, Alan Daw, Senior Vice President for Public Affairs and Communications. And he will be explaining the science behind the study as well as insights about AI. All right, let's take a moment to remind you why we do this study year after year. At Leger Digital, we believe that the best strategies are born where solid data meets creative intuition. This study is our way of putting fresh, concrete insights in your hands, helping you validate your instincts, fuel your thinking, and sometimes challenge the way you see things. We're not here to deliver ready-made answers, but rather strong markers to help better understand usage, expectations, and perceptions around social media. And what stands out this year is stability. Trends that are settling in, behaviors that are becoming the norm, and that is very encouraging because it gives brands the confidence to build clear, targeted, and deliberate strategies. So let's get started. Alan, who exactly did we survey this year?
Thanks, Maurice, and it's great to be back again this year. And one of the reasons why I love working on the study, other than working with the digital team, is that it gives a clear picture of how digital habits are changing across different parts of the population. This year's digital study ran over 2 weeks at the end of May and early June, and we heard from over 4,500 people aged 16 and up through Leger's Leo panel, including more than 3,500 Canadians and more than 1,000 Americans. And this amount of data is a dream for a researcher like me who likes to dive into the results. And I heard Andrea this morning say that marketers also love data. But Leger's data experts also make sure it's grounded in reality. Our data is carefully weighted to reflect the real world. In Canada, that means adjusting for sex at birth, age, region, language, education, and whether children are in the household to assure they align with the census. In the US, we also factor in household size and ethnicity. That rigor is what makes the findings reliable and gives us confidence when we show how different groups are experiencing the digital world. Finally, just a quick note on how to read today's results and those in the much larger report, which we encourage you to download for free. Sometimes things might not add up to exactly 100%, and that's due to rounding. That's okay. If you see numbers in green, that means the data point is significantly higher than average. Red means significantly lower, and arrows highlight significant changes up or down compared to last year's study. So with that, we're ready to dive into the findings, and I'll pass it back to Maurice.
We, of course, have to start off with our now famous big, beautiful chart showing the proportion of Canadians with an account on each platform. I know it's a lot of information on one slide, but what we wanted to show here is that our main reference chart is still here this year, allowing us to track changes year after year. A few things that are worth noting right away. Facebook still leads in terms of account ownership, and TikTok continues to grow steadily, confirming that it's here to stay, especially with our younger users. Threads is also picking up some momentum, while X continues to decline across all age groups. And finally, this year, we added two newcomers, Blue Sky, which is slowly making its way into the social ecosystem, and WeChat, which is gaining traction in certain communities. Now, it is one thing to know which platforms Canadians have an account on, but do they actually use them every day? That's another thing. Here is where we talk about daily usage, platforms that are truly part of people's routines. And this is where it gets interesting. Facebook still ranks highest overall with 62% daily usage. I know it's surprising, but among our 16 to 24-year-olds, that drops to 42%. It's becoming even clearer that our younger audiences are leaving Facebook behind. We are opening the first big chapter with a simple but important idea. Scrolling is still automatic. We open up our apps out of a reflex, but there is also growing digital fatigue. Behind that reflex, there's usually a deeper need to consume content that informs, connects, or makes us think. On Facebook, interaction with content is relatively low. The ones who will still engage, and by that we mean like, comment, share, they are our 45-year-old and up. So after years of building their presence on the platform, brands now face a loyal but aging audience. It raises the question, do we stay on Facebook and keep engaging with this older audience, or do we shift our energy to other platforms? The answer depends on your brand's target audience and your goals, of course. On Instagram, overall usage is still mostly passive, following friends, watching stories, scrolling through the feed, but our younger users, our 16 to 24, they're more likely to use it in a more engaged way. And much of that engagement happens in DMs, in direct messaging. So in fact, 39% of them say that they mainly use Instagram for private messaging. For brands, that means thinking about content that people actually want to share, either by sending it in a DM, tagging someone, or saving it for later. It could be a useful tip to save, a meme that reminds them of someone, or a post that sparks a reaction worth sharing. If you were with us last year at the same webinar, you might remember that we were wondering whether TikTok would manage to keep its place given all the uncertainty around a possible ban in the US. But it's clear now that TikTok is still growing. This year, 23% of Canadians use it daily, up 3 points from last year. And it's the younger group, or 16-24, who are most engaged. We're also seeing TikTok's usage become more mature. Last year, 40% said that they were mainly there to pass the time, and this year that's down to 35%. Instead, more users, especially the younger ones, are using TikTok intentionally. 28% of our 16, 24-year-olds say that they go there to learn something or watch tutorials. So, will TikTok start stepping on YouTube's turf? Time will tell, but either way, it's great news for brands because TikTok is clearly no longer just for pure entertainment. There is room for useful, informative, well thought out content. Speaking of YouTube, Boris, what stood out there this year?
Thank you, Maurice. Yeah, if we had to describe YouTube in one word, it would be versatile. People often say YouTube has replaced TV, but in reality, it goes far beyond passive viewing. Besides watching shows and documentaries, people use it to learn through tutorials, listen to music, check product reviews, listen to podcasts. So, in short, YouTube isn't just an entertainment channel, it's a platform that is part of our daily digital habits where users are active and engaged. So for brand, this is a big opportunity. YouTube can support every step of your customer journey with content, ads to build awareness, consideration, and even conversion. So also something to note is that YouTube is used more by men. 50% use it daily compared to 33% of women. So for brands, it's a rare occasion to reach an audience that is often harder to reach on other social platforms. YouTube ranks as the most trusted social platform, while traditional media like newspapers, radios, news websites are still seen as the most credible sources. What's striking here is that YouTube stands out as the leading social platform for trust, even ahead of LinkedIn. So this tells us two things. First, people don't just use YouTube for entertainment. They see it as a reliable source of information. Second, for organization, this creates a unique opportunity where you have, if audience already perceive YouTube as credible, well, brands can invest producing thoughtful, high quality video content on that platform to benefit from that trust, right? So of course, the challenge here is that it's consistency, having the right strategy, processes, and resources in place will help you publish video that reflects your brand's expertise. Reddit, the go-to platform for social listening. So what's important to see here is that Reddit is not mainly used for entertainment, but for something deeper. People go there to find solutions, to get advice, to connect around specific interests. It's a platform where users are highly intentional. They don't just scroll passively. They search, they compare, they share real life experience. That makes Reddit a powerful space for brands that want to listen in on authentic conversation and understand what people are really thinking and saying about the brand in their own words. So nearly 4 in 10 users go to Reddit to actively look for solution. About a third browse subreddits tied to their personal interests. So there's a lot there for social listening.
And if I may, Boris, I feel like whenever I Google a question, somebody on Reddit already asked the exact same question. It's all there and it appears in my Google results.
Absolutely, Maurice. That's the power of Reddit. Right? It has become a living archive of real question and experience. For organization, it's not just user-generate content, it's user-generate insight. So by putting the tools and processes, you can listen to those conversations, and brands can truly understand how people think, what concerns them, and what solution they're looking for in their own words. So from the start of this section, we've seen people using platform with clearer intention, but here's the paradox. Even though people know why they're online, it's getting harder to tell what's true and what's false. In fact, 57% of respondents say they struggle with this. That might sound alarming, but we actually see it as a sign of awareness. Honestly, we expect many people to say, no, I don't have trouble. but 57% is huge. It shows that users are conscious of the problem, navigating more cautiously, and may even be using social media in a more responsible way. So this growing skepticism is likely driven by the rise of AI, the spread of misinformation, and simply the overwhelming volume of content that we face every day. So that brings us back to our starting point. We love the web, but it can also make us wary and sometimes stressed. Uh, 81% of Canadians say that they enjoy going online for entertainment or inspiration, but 66% say they feel skeptical, and 28% say that the web is a source of stress for them. So as for brands, we need to be mindful of this environment. We all have a role to play, not to overload, not to overstimulate. So in other words, every message matters, um, and every contribution should add something to the engagement. So this is especially true when it comes to collaborating with influencers, content creators.
Speaking of which, let's dive into our second chapter, influencers and content creators. This year, we wanted to understand what really makes influencer content work today. And what we found is that it has to feel authentic, genuine, and spontaneous, but also serve a message, a purpose, an idea. First, an important benchmark, influencers and creators are still very much attractive to the audiences. This year, 39% of Canadians say that they follow creators on social media. It's stable overall, with a slight dip among our larger group of 25 to 44-year-olds, but nothing too dramatic. It's still very strong among our 16 to 24-year-olds. Women are more likely to follow creators on Instagram at 69%, while men turn more to YouTube at 57%. So these are our two platforms, our two top platforms, but TikTok is very close behind with 36% following creators there, compared to just 27% last year. So there was a rise. The perception of influencer marketing remains fairly positive. It's still seen favorably among our 16 to 44-year-olds, though there's a slight dip compared to last year. And for 45 and up, the perception is more reserved, sometimes even negative. Is that generational, regarding familiarity with the format, or maybe just how people define an influencer? Possibly.
Maurice, just maybe because it's just me, because I had to actually look this up. Could you explain the difference between an influencer and a content creator?
That's a very good question, and we didn't specify it in the study because everybody has their own understanding of it. And the two terms can sound interchangeable, but there really is a key difference. Influencers focus on their audience and will usually drive actions like purchases, while content creators focus on their craft, producing high quality videos or just posts. However, the line between the two can be blurry. Influencers can put a lot of effort into their content, and content creators can also have brand deals and grow their influence within their niche. But one thing is certain, no one is surprised anymore to see influencers or creators in a marketing strategy. The question is less if we use them, is more how do we do it? What we're looking at here is what people say they prefer when it comes to influencer or content or creator content. And the message is pretty clear. People want content that feels personal, spontaneous, and real. 79% prefer content with no commercial ties. 71% prefer someone speaking directly to the camera. 66% want to see people like them. And 60% prefer unscripted content over polished productions. So no big surprise here, authenticity wins. That's an important reminder. For a partnership to work, it has to feel natural and credible. And that starts with choosing the right creators and giving them the freedom to speak in their own voice. Otherwise, you risk content that feels too staged, too branded, or too much like product placement. And that's where people tune out. Here's more good news for brands. Spontaneous content wins, yes, but polished, informative content isn't really far behind. Even though 59% of respondents say that they prefer shorter content, that still leaves a 41% who like longer, more in-depth pieces. Same thing for entertaining content versus educational content. 55% lean toward entertaining, but 45% still value educational. So formats that brands often see as having more value, polished, longer, more informative, they do work. The key is keeping it natural, clear, useful, and why not a little humorous too.
Thank you, Marie. In this third section, let's turn to brands and their role on social media. This year, we wanted to know how brands can truly stand out in an environment where everyone is present, but not everyone is relevant. So there are many ways to do this, of course, but one insight that really stands out is when employees share their expertise and perspective, it can greatly strengthen your brand's credibility and deepen the connection with Canadians. When we look at the platforms where Canadians follow brands, Instagram is still number one across almost every age group. It's still the go-to platform for most brands, showing strong stability year over year. That's reassuring, but also remember that you need to keep innovating with your content strategy, the format, because attention is highly contested and you want to be able to maintain a good engagement with your audience. What also really stands out this year, though, is TikTok is on the rise from 17 to 23% of respondents now following brands there. Among 16 to 24 years old, it's 35%. So to keep in mind, Instagram and TikTok don't run on the same codes. What works on Instagram won't necessarily work on TikTok. So if you want to size this opportunity on TikTok, you really need to think about a specific TikTok strategy, of course, for to connect with your different audiences. People want to hear from the brand, directly from the brand itself, especially those age 45 and over. This is interesting because it adds nuance to what we saw previously. Yes, influencer marketing works. Yes, spontaneous human and non-commercial content is popular, but still, there's a majority of Canadians, 56%, that prefer information that comes directly from the brand or the company. And this preference rises to 65% among those 45 and plus. So among younger audience, we see they're more open to hearing brand messages when they come from influencers or an employee of the company. Um, so, I mean, in the end, you have to communicate, and to communicate effectively. I think there's an opportunity to adjust both the messenger and the tone depending on the audience you're looking to engage with. Um, what we see here is that your employees are not just the face to illustrate internal culture. They are highly valued by the public as real voices. So the study result confirmed it. What captures the most attention is when an employee speaks on topics related to their expertise, and that's 70% of respondents. Next comes content showing them team dynamics and an employee's personal journey. So in other words, giving your employees a voice directly answers what audiences are looking for. They want to learn, understand, and be inspired by useful, concrete content coming from your employees. The reality though is that often you don't have the resources or the available staff to create that kind of content. So many of our clients tell us they would love to showcase their team on social media, to highlight their expertise, or simply to make the organization feel more human. But in practice, it's easier said than done. So not everyone feels comfortable in front of the camera. That's where content created by external expert can really make a difference. The message still comes from the brand, but it's delivered in a way that feels natural, clear, human. So if you don't have the time or capacity to produce this type of content in-house, you can collaborate with creators, agencies. Those are great alternatives. And they know how to speak to the camera. These experts master the codes of the platform and they can deliver an authentic message without feeling overly commercial. So something to keep in mind if you want to explore content video and build trust with your audience.
So here is a little treat for our clients in the municipal, tourism, and nonprofit sectors. These are fields where content often needs to inform, mobilize, or raise awareness. So humor in reels can work well sometimes, but not every brand has a content strategy that is well suited for that or ready for that. So this year, we asked Canadians about their tone and format preferences depending on different situations. We'll show you 3 examples here, but you'll find about 10 in the full report, which you will get for free by email following the webinar. Overall, the takeaway is clear. The message can be funny, emotional, or inspiring, but never at the expense of clarity. Let's start with tourism. So when asked how they prefer to discover a city they don't know, 58% said short video, like a reel or a TikTok video, quickly showing things to do in the city. Does that mean that, does that mean that people no longer want to read blogs? Not at all. But in the early inspiration stage of planning your travel, at the very top of the funnel, short videos grab attention. Once hooked, people are ready to dive deeper, to read, to plan, to explore. So for your top funnel content, make sure you've got engaging, dynamic, short form video. For municipalities, when it comes to citizen announcement, public interest, awareness, mobilization, 73% of Canadians prefer a clear, direct announcement. That's the top choice across all ages. That said, 39% of our 16-24-year-olds say that they'd rather see a lighter, humorous tone. Since municipalities often speak to multiple age groups, humor is worth considering. For many of our clients, the sweet spot is a clear, direct message delivered in a lighter, more approachable format.
And just wanted to jump in here quickly because it was great to see this information included in the report, as it really gets at what our public affairs clients, and I would imagine clients across a lot of different sectors, often want to know, not just how to reach people, which we talk about a lot in here, but how to do it in a way that builds trust. And whether through the focus groups that we do or quant studies, we see and hear the importance of having a clear message, but also how tone matters too. Too formal, you risk being ignored. Too casual, you risk losing authority or trust. And the need for authenticity is often a key takeaway. So just jumping in there, and I'll pass it back to you, Maurice.
Thank you, Alan. For community groups, we asked who's the best spokesperson for talking about a program or an initiative. And the answers were almost split half and half. So 52% prefer content from an expert or an official spokesperson with clear facts and structured explanations. And 48% prefer hearing from someone like them, sharing their own experience like an influencer. So the choice depends on your angle. If the goal is to inform and reassure, go with the expert. If the goal is to spark identification and emotion, the influencer might be the better choice. Bogus, over to you. You're on mute. You want to hear you. There you go.
Thanks, Maggie. Let's wrap up the first 4 section of the study. And before we jump into the last one, we want to quickly talk about of our most popular products, the digital audit and the voice of your followers. With the digital audit, we help organizations get a clear diagnosis of their digital presence and action. So based on your priorities and business goal, we'll review all your platform, websites, social media, email marketing, content, paid media performance. Then we'll provide you tangible recommendation to improve your digital presence and update your strategy. The voice of the followers is a unique product that we have developed with Leger's research teams. It's a real study based on a survey conducted directly with your followers on Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. So it's a proven deliverable to help you understand the motivation, expectation of your followers towards your brand on social media. And most importantly, you get tangible insight that will help you update your content strategy and maximize your engagement with your different audience and segments. So feel free to reach to us at solutions@leger360.com. We'd like to learn more if you'd like to learn more about those services. With that, I'll hand it over to you, Alan.
Thanks, Boris. We're closing the webinar with a topic that we can't ignore, artificial intelligence. It's a conversation that's everywhere right now. Just last week, I was at a conference. Over lunch, I sat at a table with business leaders from a couple different industries, and the whole table over lunch, all we talked about was AI, how we're using it, what's working well, what isn't, and how it could impact our careers as well as our kids. So I don't have data on all those things that we talked about, and maybe in sometime in the future I will get data on that. But what we can show here is a clear view of how people are using AI right now. And one of the biggest trends in the data is that AI is increasingly becoming the entry point to the web for younger people, while older audiences are still turning first to Google or other search engines. So we'll jump into it. To start, Canadians are increasingly making AI their first stop when looking for information. Last year, only 5% went to AI first. This year, that number has more than doubled to 12%. Among 16 to 24-year-olds, though, this jumps to 26%. So then more than 1 in 4 are starting their searches with tools like GPT, Siri, Alexa, or Copilot, and there's a whole lot more out there. And I'll admit, I'm one of them, not the 24-year-olds, unfortunately, but the 12% who tend to gravitate, or my first instinct is often becoming, oh, I'm going to ask GPT, not I'll Google it. But AI isn't replacing other practices yet. It's more complementing them. Today, 36% of Canadians use AI tools at least once a week. Among 16 to 24-year-olds, though, that's 67%. Huge numbers. At the same time, though, search engine use still remains really high, with 95% using them at least once a week, and its usage is still high among 16 to 24-year-olds. So what does that mean? I see it as people aren't just taking the first AI answer at face value. Many are still looking elsewhere, comparing responses, validating the output, because as we saw and heard earlier, the boundary between truth and lies has never been so blurry. So while AI is becoming a quick starting point for some, search engines are still an important reference point. We also see that trust is an important part of the story because adoption and comfort aren't moving at the same pace. Today, 45% of Canadians say they have a positive view of AI, up from 40% last year. But at the same time, 38% still have a negative view and 17% remain undecided. And if you look closer at the data in the full report, you'll see amongst Canadians 45 and older, negative views still outweigh positive ones. So yes, usage is growing quickly, but perceptions are shifting more slowly. And that makes sense. With the blurry lines that we've been talking about, people are questioning the results they get and thinking about what AI could mean for them now and in the long term. And that uncertainty could be holding back our trust. Finally, we asked Canadians what they're actually doing with AI, and the answer falls into 3 big categories: learning and information, content creation, and everyday help and decision making. What's interesting is that there's no single use or activity that dominates. Instead, I see it as people are treating AI like a Swiss Army knife, pulling it out for whatever tasks are in front of them. So let's start with the most common activity though, learning and information. We see that 37% are using AI to understand or explain complex topics, or in my case, what memes my kids are talking about and trying to figure out what it all means. Another 25% or 24% are using it to summarize documents or articles. The second category is content creation. Here, 30% of AI users are asking it to draft texts or emails. 23% are using it to brainstorm creative ideas, and about 1 in 5 are generating images or visuals. It's becoming a partner for both practical and creative work. And lastly, there's everyday help. Nearly 1 in 4 Canadians are using AI to correct or polish their writing. One of my favorite prompts is make this sound better. It seems to work pretty well. To translate text or to compare products or services when making decisions. And if we zoom in, when I was looking at the bigger report, one stat that stood out to me was that 45% of 16 to 24-year-olds say they're using AI to help with their homework or studying. So AI is being woven into all parts of student life, from learning and creating to writing and decision making. So what does that mean for brands? Since AI tools are drawing from what's already online, your brand's clarity, content quality, and search presence directly shapes what gets generated and even gets recommended. So with that, speaking of summarizing a lot of information, we've shared a lot in this webinar, and there's a lot more in the full report. You can sign up to receive, but for now, I'll pass it back to Maurice to wrap things up.
In conclusion, if you can only take away 4 insights from this webinar today, please let it be these ones. TikTok and AI are becoming go-to search tools, especially among younger users. Engagement is shifting to private spaces. It's less about likes and comments and more about DMs, shares, and saved content. The web is also a source of stress. People still turn to it for entertainment, but many users also feel overwhelmed and fatigued. As brands, the goal should be to add value, not noise. The line between real and fake is more blurry than ever, which makes transparency and credibility more important than ever in the content you put out. And I'm very excited to pass it over to Boris, who's sharing some good news about Leger's own AI assistant.
Thank you, Maurice. So we're excited to offer you a great new tool this year, Leon. Leon is your conversational AI assistant built to help you explore both this year's Leger Digital study and also last year. So it's a tool we developed for you as a complement to the traditional digital report. So on the right, you see a short video that shows how it works. For example, you can ask Leon which platforms are most used by men aged 25 to 44. You can also ask which type of content resonate most with Canadians or more specifically Ontarians. Leon will give you fast, clear answers, always backed with sources. So in short, it's a AI-powered tool, free and available right now. We invite you to use Leon, come back to it anytime you want to explore, validate, or dig deeper into digital trends and usage. So this tool is available right now. After this webinar, you'll receive an email with a link to download this study, along with instruction on how to use Leon.
Perfect. Thanks, team. And thank you for giving us just a few minutes to take some questions. And there are some. So incredible insights. Thank you. I'm not going to direct this to anyone in particular, so feel free to jump in if you think this is falls most in your area. Okay, the first off the top was, what was most surprising to you in this year's results versus last year? Has anything accelerated more quickly or more slowly than you might have expected?
I can speak for myself, then we can do a roundtable.
Yeah.
What surprised me is that people are getting tired of scrolling. They're doing it anyway, but they're getting tired of it. So they're looking to be inspired, and you can feel the fatigue. And I think I can speak for myself that I feel it too. Sometimes I'm like, what am I doing? What am I even doing? So I'm happy I'm not alone, basically.
You're not. Boris,
For
Alan?
For me, I was drawn to the data around the truth, the boundary between truth and lies, and seeing how people are continually getting even more skeptical of what they're reading out there. And rightfully so, it's becoming harder to decipher truth from fiction, and just seeing that continue to increase is pretty concerning and something to continue to monitor.
To me, I mean, it was kind of expected, but we now have the data to prove it. It's the rise of AI, ChatGPT, as the entry point to the web. This has clear implication for organization, especially when we talk about SEO. We've worked so many years to make sure that our website is well indexed on search results. Now there's a new challenge. How can we optimize our content to make sure that our messages, our content is well indexed in ChatGPT? So this is, I think, a new need and opportunity for organization to make sure they're there.
Great perspective. Okay, we have another question from a viewer, and one was, with AI-powered search engines becoming the primary way that people discover information online, what do you think will happen to the influence of social media platforms? Will that diminish, given that people are now turning to AI? And is that a risk for brands that have built themselves through social media? I know there's a little conjecture here, may not have comment on the data specifically, but certainly welcome any thoughts if you have them.
Go ahead, Boris.
Yeah, I feel that the direct competitor to AI is search engine for now. Social media still has its place. I mean, at the core, people go on social media to connect with family and friends, connect with friends, in a interactive, human way. So I think those two are still have their own play, but it will be interesting to follow the evolution in AI and see how it can impact social media usage moving forward for sure.
I would also add that they're watching and they know that AI is very important, and you get on board or you're going to be left behind. So you've all seen Meta AI pop up on your Messenger app and on your so the big social media groups know that it's very important to include it in their own tools. So if you can't beat it, join it, I think is the general vibe.
Think there's some good counsel there. So there's a number of questions on specific now that we're in the world of social. A question for you, Maurice. On Instagram, with so much engagement moving into private DMs, how can brands create content that will actually get shared?
That's very interesting. You have to create content that is relatable, shareable, um, and don't focus so much on it being viral. Make it so specific that when you make your content, you're thinking about your dad or you're thinking about your aunt or your boyfriend. Make it so specific that for sure some people are going to relate and share it. So don't be afraid to try things out.
Good advice. Boris, did you have something to add? You're smiling. Nope, you agree. Okay, that's great.
I agree.
I have a data question actually just related to the Facebook. Does the Facebook data usage, is that just social, or does it include the additional services like Marketplace? So that's maybe to you, Alan.
I think for the purpose of this, and Marisa and Boris, correct me if I'm wrong, we're focusing more on the social aspect, but Marketplace is becoming is an integral part of Facebook. So when people are saying that they're using it and their frequency of usage, that could incorporate Marketplace as well.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I think in the report we saw a great deal of between the age differentials and gender. Were there any major regional disparities or differences that you saw when you looked at the data overall?
That's a very good question. Maybe I can go back to the whole research team for that, but I don't think so. Last year we saw some differences for Quebec for some of the stats, but this year nothing really stood out. So I would say no.
Okay, great.
I've asked
This is
Leon to see if it can provide me a summary, so we'll
Oh,
see what
I
it
was
there you
comes
go.
up with.
I was just thinking that if we only had Leon, we could ask all of these questions and answer them in very short order. Okay, I think this is a question for you, Boris. How do we optimize content so it's picked up by the AI tool? Again, a very not an easy question, but perhaps there's some tips and tricks.
Yeah. Um, I think if you have a good SEO, more than 70% of the work is done. So it's now a question of optimizing to make sure that we have the best present on AI tool. One of the quick win is to make sure that you have content that is written in a natural language. So think about having maybe an FAQ with question and answers. ChatGPT will crawl that kind of information. It will be really helpful to AI tools. Also, focus on credibility. So ensure that your site looks trustworthy and that your information is backed and linked with credible external source, similar to SEO. It will really help to have your content indexed.
Great, thank you. This is more of an observation than a question, perhaps, but it's that TikTok is becoming more of a learning tool. What kinds of brands or campaigns are working best? It's not for everyone, but some brands seem to have incredible success. So, any learnings or wisdom there?
Sure, we've tried TikTok with a lot of our campaigns for a lot of our clients, and honestly, we think that any brand can lead into educational content on TikTok. People are curious. They want to know how things are made, why things work the way they do, the behind the scenes. You'd be surprised the amount of very, very niche and specific content you can find on TikTok. A beauty brand is the one that comes to mind, but public services can be explained like waste management, water treatment. We've done stuff for Port of Montreal. We've done stuff for, you can talk about electric vehicles, anything. Electricians have their own TikTok sort of niche. Yeah, you try it.
Love it. Okay, we have another question. What trends from this year's report do you see as most critical for organizations to act on immediately? And where do you think many are still falling short? So, what are the must act on insights?
A quick win for you. Include YouTube in all of your strategies at every step of the funnel. So from top to middle to bottom. YouTube is very, very versatile. So just include it. No brainer.
I would add maybe also um, if you don't have a presence on Instagram and you invested all your energy on Facebook, it's good to see how we can diversify and have the other platform than Facebook, because we see the usage of Facebook by younger audience being diminishing every year. So think about the future and see how you can also engage with the younger crowds, maybe through other platforms.
Great. Okay, I have another question here about Reddit. Looking for perspective about the engagement in Reddit forums. Does it tend to be authentic or come across more as Big Brother? I think you hinted to authenticity, but I don't want to lead the
That's
response.
funny. I like that question. No, go ahead, jump in there. And people want to connect with brands. In our chapter about brands, we've talked about that. They want brands to speak about themselves. They want to see people like them talking about brands. So yeah, if you have a community manager or a communications, manager, get in there, jump in the conversation. Especially watch the comments if you do ads on Reddit, and it's a platform, but don't be too conservative and don't delete everything that like might not please you in the comments, because it is a space for open dialogue and for people to share their opinion. So like it's not too serious. It's Reddit. People are gonna have different opinions, and the more the merrier. So everybody's welcome there, I think.
Yeah, I did some focus groups recently, and it was interesting hearing people talk about Reddit and how they're engaging with it. And for many, it's like they want to go and hear both sides, the extremes of a conversation, so that they can find what side or find the middle ground on their own. So that dialogue is really important. And to what Maurice said is don't over curate it. It's allow people to talk freely, and then people will go in there, they'll read them. That's part of their learning process as well, to discover what they feel is their most authentic voice.
Great, thank you. That was a rich response. So there's a couple of questions and regarding different media, but the general premise is how should we consider these trends, digital, in relation to more traditional media like TV and out of home? Do we have any insight in terms of how that's changing behavior in other channels, or is there other work that might be able to cite some of that evidence? Any thoughts you had would be welcomed.
So we haven't really done a comparative analysis of both, but you can ask Leon. We've done that last year, asking how credible do you find these sources? And we have all of them, all the traditionals like TV, newspaper. So, and we didn't present it this year in today's webinar. But I would say they are complementary, but digital marketing is I'm not going to teach you something new, but it's much cheaper to reach a bigger audience than, let's say, a poster on the highway. Everybody knows that. And we specialize in digital marketing. So of course, that's where I'm going to lead towards, is to focus on that. And if you know you have good results with your traditional media strategies, by all means, keep going. But I think adding a digital component would help you reach new audiences.
Yeah, there's definitely not a one size fits all response to that. The two,
Yeah.
they channels don't operate in isolation. That's great. You mentioned that some of the results we just spoke of were not in this presentation. The report, and I know we can ask Leon, which is amazing. Are there many insights not yet shared in this presentation that they'll find in the report? So if you've seen this, are you covered, or do you need to go to the report as well?
I'd advise to look at the big report. It has a lot more information, and you can dive deeper into a chapter that you really liked. There's 5 of them, so yeah, please read the full report.
Perfect. Um, Oh, I cannot not represent some of the comments. I think there's certainly some of those that are deep in different media channels. So they just reminding us to make sure that everybody do their own work in terms of which channel for that's right for their brand. So that's a very fair comment. I want to make that point. Okay, there's another specific question. This time it's about to you, Alan, specifically. In the this or that section, when you talked about expert versus testimonial to educate about a program, are there differences between age groups? So someone has a very specific question there.
Really good question, and I saw it, so I did type it into Leon just because hey, it's available, and it does show significant differences between the importance of having an expert spokesperson. So younger people, 43% saying that it's important versus 59% for those who are age 45 plus. So, definitely as people become older, they're looking for that expertise, whereas younger are looking for someone like them that they can relate to. And just tying back to the question on regionality and differences there. I also asked it, differences between Canada and the US just really quickly. Seeing Canada, it is quite split. US tends to gravitate a little bit more to expert opinion. So that was interesting to see. So all just being able to do this multitasking.
Great. Was that really the only difference? Was that bias? No other major swings. Interesting.
Well, that was just, I asked it for that specific question.
Oh, that
There's a
specific
whole,
question.
yeah.
Ah, but that is, I think that is a logical next one then. We didn't see a lot of regional differences, but did you see a lot cross-border given
Yeah, and
sentiments between Canadians and
off
Americans?
the
Yeah.
top of my head, I can't remember all those differences, but there are there are differences in some areas, and I would say just look into the report, and if you have questions, feel free to reach out and we can look into it even more.
I'm definitely going to be asking Leon. That's a good one. And I think that brings us to the end. There's a lot of thank yous, so I wanted to echo those here. Thank you very much to the Leger team. Just some incredible insights here. Would encourage everyone to dig into the report, regardless of whether you've had the benefit of being on the call today, for more rich insights, and of course, dig into Leon and ask your own questions. So thank you for the wonderful work, and thanks for spending your time with us.
Thank you, Andrea, for being here today. Thanks, everyone.
everyone.
Thank you.